Hi everyone, I'm Andrea O'Neill, co-manager of SEO's investment banking program. In part one of the webinar, you learned what investment banking entails and how it fits into the broader financial services industry. In this webinar, you will understand more about the role of an investment banker, responsibilities you may have if you choose this career path, career trajectory, and the skill set needed to succeed. Let's rejoin Patrice as she continues your tour of investment banking.
This slide discusses the roles within an investment banking, and what you see here is the hierarchy of an investment banking group. So let's start at the bottom where you guys will be the summer analyst level. And what the summer analyst does is assist this analyst and make their life easier for the 8 to 10 weeks that you're on your internship. And the way that you do this is by figuring out what the analyst does and doing that and executing that very well. And the analysts basically, they build financial models, they perform valuation analyses, and they construct the pitch book. So that's really what you'll be doing for the 2 to 3 years that you are as an analyst. And then you move up to an associate. And an associate does some of the things that the analyst does, but they're also there to check the analyst's work before it goes to the vice president. And the vice president is kind of the middle ground between the associates and the analyst and the managing director. And what the vice president does is they manage the deal pitch process, and they also review all work before it actually goes to the managing director. And the managing director manages the relationship between the client and the bank, and they also negotiate the terms of the deal and fee structure, like how will the bank get paid. This slide discusses analyst responsibilities. So among the major responsibilities that you'll have is that you'll be performing financial valuation, discounted cash flow, DCF, and multiples-based analyses, comps of different companies. You'll also be building and using financial models, and these models are constructed in Microsoft Excel, and they're used to forecast a company's operating performance. You'll also be preparing presentation materials, so the pitch books that we discussed before, and also drafting registered documents for the SEC. So there are drafting sessions, which are meetings between the clients, the bankers, and the lawyers. And the aim is to generate a document for the government and potential investors telling them the major information that they need to know. And lastly, you'll be conducting industry and product research. So what are the attributes of a good analyst? What do you need to do to get through your summer and get to the end and have a full-time offer? First, you need an attention to detail. 1 decimal point can cost a company a lot of money. And so what you want to do is before you hand something in, you want to check it, you want to double check it, and you want to triple check it. You want to make sure that what you're handing in is correct and there are no mistakes. Secondly, you want to have a strong work ethic. You'll be working a lot of hours, and you want to be able to work until 2 o'clock in the morning, go home, get some rest, come back, and do it all again, and have the same enthusiasm that you had the day before. We need quick learners as good investment bankers because you're going to get a lot of information thrown at you, and you need to be able to absorb the information, figure out what you need to do, and have a quick turnaround. Ability to communicate effectively. You're going to be putting together a lot of models, finding a lot of different information, and you're going to need to tell people where you got your assumptions and what led you to the answers that you got. An understanding of accounting principles. You don't have to be an accounting major or a finance major, but you do need to have a general understanding of what the principles are and why you're doing the things that you're doing. Solid quantitative, analytical, and technical skills. I cannot stress this more. You need to be solid in these areas because it's very important for your day-to-day job. You're going to be working with a lot of numbers. You're going to be analyzing a lot of different models. And so you need to have these skills down so that when you're doing this, you're doing them fast, you're doing them efficiently, and you're doing them correctly. And lastly, a familiarity with Microsoft Office. A lot of the work that you're going to be doing is going to be in Microsoft Excel and Microsoft PowerPoint. So if you are tech savvy and you know these programs very well, you'll be able to do your job very quickly. This slide talks about the benefits of a position within investment banking. First, there's exposure. You have unrivaled access to senior management of multinational and multi-billion-dollar corporations. Secondly, there's the prestige. You're working on the headline-grabbing deals, the ones that show up on the front page of the Wall Street Journal. And lastly, when someone looks at your resume and they see that you've done investment banking, They know that you have a wealth of transferable skills. You've been modeling, doing different valuations, you've been analyzing financial statements, and you've been multitasking and handling a lot of different things at once. They know that you have a proven work ethic because you've gotten a lot of different projects, you've gotten access to a lot of private information, and you've been able to handle those and been successful throughout your 2 to 3 years. The next two slides talk about a day in the life of an analyst. And I won't go through each line by line item, but what you can really see here is that the day in the life of an analyst is very dynamic. You have a lot of different projects that you're working on throughout the day and a lot of deliverables that you have. And one thing to note is that it's a very long day. So you can start at 9 o'clock in the morning and not end until 3 o'clock in the morning the next day. And what you have to really be able to do is take these long days, execute all your projects very well, go home, go to sleep, and wake up and do it all over again with enthusiasm. If you viewed this webinar and you feel that investment banking is a good fit for you, on this slide you can find some next steps that you can take to prepare yourself for the interview and your internship. First, you can go on ZooLogic, and we've listed some courses that we think will be helpful. Intro to Securities Markets, Corporate Finance, Analyzing Financial Statements, Time Value of Money, and Intro to Equity Evaluation. And these are things that will get yourself familiar with what you'll be doing as an investment banker. We also have a recommended reading list. There's a valuation book by Training the Street, and there's also Liar's Poker and Monkey Business. And while these two books aren't specifically about investment banking, they have a few anecdotes in there that will be helpful as you go on Wall Street. Vault also has some career guides. There's the investment banking book, and they have a finance interview book, which has some quick math and case studies in there. And there's also the Top 50 Banking Employers book, so you can compare and contrast different investment banks. There are also the SEOU webinars, and you have an opportunity to talk to SEO alums and see what they did, what worked for them and what didn't, and any advice that they may have. And also, when you go to school to next year, you want to enroll in some finance and accounting courses. Not everyone has to be a finance and accounting major, but it's good to have a background and understand what you're doing. This slide lists additional resources that you can go to. You should be reading the Wall Street Journal, the Financial Times, and Business Week to find out more about the market. You should also go on DealBook. It's a good way to find out what the different investment banks are involved in and what actual deals they've been working on. And also the finance websites at Yahoo, CNN, and Bloomberg are also very helpful. If you have any questions, this page shows the contact information for myself and Andrea O'Neill. And please feel free to contact us if you have any questions, if you want to know more about investment banking. Thank you for viewing this webinar.